Hi everyone, welcome to the July edition of ADEX Pixel Expo. I'm Sophia from ADEX and I'll be your host for today. So today joining us is three very esteemed underwater photographers who will also be our judges for the upcoming ADEX Voice of the Ocean Photo Video Art Competition, which is actually ongoing right now, and the judging will happen during ADEX Ocean Vision 2022, happening on 16 to 18 September this year at Singapore. So without further ado, let me just introduce to you our three judges over here. So first up, we have Scott Thorson. So Scott was first handed his underwater camera at the age of 16. Decades later, his passion for photography has brought him on amazing journeys. From throwing himself into a feeding frenzy to dangling off a line in open water at night, his photography has been recognized at Antiques Festival for his book, Anilau, which he co-authored in 2000. His latest books, Blackwater and Open Blue, have also won awards and are sold out worldwide. Next up, we have Renee Kapoor. So Renee is a award-winning underwater photographer from the US who specializes in wide angle and split level images. Her work is an intriguing combination of artistic talent honed through oil painting during her youth and a professional background in biology. Her images have appeared in leading dive publications and have won over 50 prestigious international accolades, including Underwater Photographer of the Year 2021 and in the Underwater Photographer of the Year competition and the Female 50 Phantoms Award from the 2021 Ocean Photography Awards. Last but not least, we also have Tobias Friedrich, who is also a multi-award winning and full-time underwater photographer from Germany. Several underwater photography competitions have honored his work, resulting in over 50 awards with nearly 30 first places. In 2018, he has been named Underwater Photographer of the Year 2018 in the prestigious UPY London competition and German Photographer of the Year 2019 at the World Shootout. So last but not least, we also have Carter Leaf, who will be representing ADEX. He'll be our moderator for this session. So now I'll just hand over the time to Carter. And this time round, our judges will be sharing about some of their photography tips and tricks, and they'll let you know more about how you can nail that award-winning shot that will capture their hearts for the Voice of the Ocean competition. Yep, so over to you, Carter.
Thank you, Sophia, for the introduction, and thank you for all the time that the judges and the speakers here to share more information on how to take that winning photo, underwater photo, to be precise. So how our judges here, I mean, they represent the general judges. There are also different judges with different eyes, different quirks, different way to that they have their way to judge a winning photo. However, I believe today is more of a in-depth discussion on how to actually capture, frame it, and after framing it, it goes into editing. After editing, how much editing is supposed to be done, how much more is supposed to be done, and what not supposed to be done, the ethics of photography, underwater photography, and many more. So I would like to maybe get the speakers today, maybe Scott, Tobias, and Renee, to share some of their photos they randomly see, to be able to give some insightful knowledge for our people who is underwater photographers who is going out there to capture their underwater image, and then eventually submitting that image during ADEX Images of not Images of Asia, Voice of the Ocean 2022. So once they submit, you guys will be the final eyes to conclude whether that photo is winning or not winning. So prior to VOO 2022 in September, which will be we'll be having a live judge. Now we are actually talking to them before meeting them physically at ADEX. So maybe share some of your insightful ideas or tips that could get that winning shot. Who shall volunteer to start? Who wants to start? Okay, so the topic revolves about how to get that winning frame shot. Second, how much editing is supposed to be done. Third, the ethical part or portion of taking the underwater photography, meaning no manipulation of underwater creatures. And then finally, that winning shot.
Yeah, so I can start if you want to.
Thanks, Tobias. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I think First of all, it's really important not to only have an image which has the right exposure and is technically correct, but it needs to have an extra wow factor, an extra thing what the other pictures don't have, or what a regular image doesn't have. And you can just firstly check by yourself if you have an image what you think is maybe good, or you want to enter in a competition. And you can ask yourself and look into the image, can I do anything better on this particular image? Or is there anything what disturbs me still in this image? Like there was maybe a diver in the background, or there's maybe an annoying coral hanging around, or maybe the nudibranch is sitting on a not so nice background. I don't know. So always ask yourself, what can I do better on a picture? And maybe then this particular image is not a good image to enter in a competition, or I can do it the next time when I dive even better, with maybe a different technique, or with maybe with a snood, if it's nudibranch or so. So always ask yourself, is that really a good picture, or can I do even better? And I think this is not even maybe for this particular competition what you enter, but also very important for the future path as an underwater photographer, to shoot images better and better and better, and to always constantly ask yourself, how and what can I do better to have better images?
That's good sharing. That's good sharing. While you guys are discussing and sharing with the audience, I'm actually browsing through online pictures, and some of them are awesome. Next, who wants to share more? Let me just in the meantime look for some pictures to show an example. Sure, thanks.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So as Tobias said, that initial wow factor is definitely something, I know everyone says that and it's kind of cliche, but it's definitely what catches your eye at first. And what that is, I think, varies from judge to judge, because you have to remember that all of these competitions are very subjective. They have different judges. And I think it's also worthwhile, as somebody who's entering a competition, to actually review each judge's work, look at their portfolios. If you're having a hard time deciding what type of images to enter, that can help. So in terms of the wow factor, I think that, something that is unique, that has a clear subject, that has either color or contrast, something that makes it stand out. Also, as Tobias said, not having distracting elements. It can be very difficult, because sometimes you may have a shot where you have, sharks, and you've got fish, and you've got coral, and you've got a reflection, and you've got all this stuff in there, and you think, okay, this is better, but it can end up being a little bit busy. So sometimes more simple can actually be better. But to have a really clear subject, and as he said, don't have something distracting in the background like a diver or their bubbles, or maybe you have another animal like a shark entering the corner of the frame that's distracting and kind of brings the eye away from that main subject. So those are things to kind of think about. And if you are going to, a destination that you can kind of plan a little bit for example, that there's going to be sharks at a certain location, or that there's going to be turtles in a certain location, then you can go out and you can scout the location, you can do some dives, try out some different techniques, review your images, and then you can go back and, as Tobias said, try to improve upon what you've done previously and try to make it better. You can also try to add in something a little bit different, such as motion blur, or some other lighting technique that's unusual, to try to make it more creative, if that's something that you're going after. But I think that wow factor is really the first thing. In terms of the composition, like I said, a clear subject I think is really important. And I also think that a lot of times, not just judges, but viewers in general, that connect to the image. So if it's, let's say, a portrait type of image, do you have eye contact with the animal? Is the eye sharp? Is it something that you feel a connection to? Does it tell a story? That's why I really like half and half shots or split shots. They're images that tell more about the animal or the subject by seeing what else is in the background, in that above portion of the image. So that's why I think a lot of people are really drawn to those types of images. I also think that doing something a little bit different, So if you've seen a certain image, win maybe many competitions in the past, a certain type of subject, try to do something different. And then try not to enter too many pictures that are kind of the same, what we call near frames, and don't leave that to the judges to pick the right one. So pick the one that you think is best and don't have them compete with each other. And then in terms of the softwares, I don't know if that's something that you want me to discuss now or to save for later and give Scott a chance to talk some more first. Carter.
Some very good pointers. I actually like the fact that what you have mentioned, that it didn't cross my mind at all. Look at the judges. First of all, study your judges' bio, and then look at the judges' work. I think this is pretty interesting, and I would like to elaborate. From my understanding, because every underwater photographer frame things differently. Like Tobias will be framing that picture very differently for Scott and of course yourself, Renee. So when you mentioned about looking at the judges' work, does it mean that if the underwater photographer going to take something wow but similar, it kind of capture that kind of genre of that underwater judge eyes? Does it mean that way?
I think maybe in hopes of doing something that they might think is appealing, or that they like the same genre or subject as you said. So for example, someone like me, I really like half and half shots. So that's not the only thing that I look at. But if someone does that well, I think it's something that would catch my eye, versus if you look at another judge that's maybe a blackwater specialist and you have a picture that is more of a portrait of an animal and you want to enter it in a portrait category, then maybe you might pick that picture over maybe a turtle if you know that the judge is, into that type of photography. I think it's definitely something that might help in a sense, but it's not going to be the overall deciding factor. Of course, you've got to have, that unique creative picture with that wow factor that has a good composition and good technical aspects, and also proper editing with the software as well.
Fair enough. Okay, Scott, do you want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, are we talking about for the live judging, or are we just talking about competitions in general?
Okay, so basically what we are sharing now is to help educating and sharing to those who are submitting their underwater shots into how to get that winning, how to get the judge. So basically there are a few phases, correct? So phase one is we select that winning, a group of winning picture. So that's phase one. And then phase two is out of the winning picture, we choose the 10 of the best. Then the 10 of the best will go on to the Voice of the Ocean actual live judging event. So there are many stages. It's like going for interview. How do you get your photo to be chosen in the first place? Not even saying that it will make it to the top 10 or during the last 10 photos that's going to be live judged at Voice of the Ocean. But how do you actually how do you get your photo to be actually picked up in the first round of
the first round? Yeah, that's very important. Because the first round is so important to have something that jumps out right at you, right? Because or else you can't have any of this sublime, stuff going on, because it'll just get bypassed, especially when there's a lot of submissions. And it's kind of fast paced with you guys when you're going to be culling through all the images. So it's really important that the image really jumps out, so it makes it through that first messy round, right? And then of course, I mean, I always look at the lighting of the image. I mean, of course, again, the image has to be not necessarily properly lit, but if it's lit differently, right? I mean, that's also interesting. And also, and the eyes have to be sharp. If it's an animal with eyes, there's no excuse. Those get taken away right away if the eyes aren't sharp. So, and the framing, has to have like a really good flow. I mean, look at the background picture of Tobias. I love the flow of that image. And for me, that also draws in the viewer, right? The whole
Absolutely.
flow and of the image with the lighting and all that. So
you know what this
gotta get
image
through the-
shows? It
you
shows like
gotta-
this whale
it
is
looks a
carrying
lot
the
better
mountain.
without him there as well. And,
It feels like the whale is
yeah.
carrying the mountain on its back.
Yeah, and you got to get through that first round. That's important, right? And then once it's at the stage where we're doing the live judging, again, that's also a very, I've done it before with you guys, and it's a very fast paced type of event, right? So we're not sitting there really super dissecting everything. It just, it's just happening. Half of us are drunk, as well. So, you really have to have these images that really stand out, and, we never know. We might even change our taste by the time the live judging comes on, and we change, you could try and study our portfolio and kind of see what we kind of like. But like for me, I don't like pictures that I'm taking because I'm sick of them. I'd rather I like other people's work more, actually. So I think also you have to, if you want to join a competition, there's two ways of looking at it. You can either join it just because you like, and you just want to show the photos that you love, right? And if they do well, they do well. If not, or you can pick photos which you think the judges will like, right? So that's what you have to kind of decide at the beginning as well, right? For me, when I joined the UPY, I just picked pictures I like myself, right? That, so because I'm just going to submit it, because I don't want to break my head trying to figure out what images I should submit and this and that. So that's how I do it when I join. And so, yeah. So, and then of course there's the other way around, which is you can do your homework and study what you think other people might like, right? Which will be the 4 or 5 judges. So it's that's how I see it. But
Great sharing.
all the technical aspects of the image have to be in there at the beginning, or else it's
Totally
not a
agree
very
with
good
you,
image.
Scott. Totally agree with you.
And we also do accept last-minute payments on our private PayPal accounts, yeah, in case your picture is not that good.
Okay, that's good sharing. But don't do it that way. It's I think it's a joke. meant to
No,
be.
don't do it. No,
No.
would never.
Okay, next up we have Imran. Thank you for taking time, Imran. Yeah, I think I get to see you in person sooner than the rest of them today.
Maybe.
I saw you a month ago.
Yes.
Yes, so it's good to
It was
see
nice
you
seeing
here.
everybody. Most importantly, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. It's nice to see that
How
you
you
guys
doing, buddy?
doing what you do. Yeah, we good. I can't wait to see you guys. Yeah, back in ADEX again after a long time and break. And
Yes.
let's do this. Yeah, let's get some good images and see what we can come out with.
Yeah. So Imran, I think you joined midway. So the initial discussion topic before we move on further is your take on how to help underwater photographers frame or make that wow underwater photo to be able to even make it through the first round of jumbos.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I would the judges will not be able to see the first round. What you guys are seeing that is best 10 out of the many thousands photo. So
thank you.
Yes. So so even if the photo is being in a jumbos, what advice can you give the photographers to get their photos stand out or even?
Well, I always say it's a competition. It's not a discussion. So when you send something for a competition, that means you only send your best. in every aspect that you can find, may it be your lights, your composition, the moments, these are things as a photographer, when you get into the water, you were already thinking about, right? You're probably doing your homeworks, like, I got to catch it in this particular form. I got to wait for that time in. I got to learn if it gives births along the way. I want to be sure to get it, So you need to know that if you've seen them in most of the competitions, it's becoming a trend. Okay, whale shots, Tobias, he probably won like 75 competitions. Yeah, but not in this competition, We need to see whales doing jumps and hula hoops if they had to, because there must be, in my case, I'm just speaking about me, there must be some form of thing that really stands out. And when you see that, you know that now that's a winning shot. And everybody suddenly, like this whole panel suddenly goes, like, yeah, we could agree on this. And that's where those images becomes really valuable. Yeah, but if it's just like, oh, because Tobias shot it that way, let's just do it that way. No, it's a Tobias shot already. He claims it. We need to find the next best thing. Like Gutsy's always got this nice stuff coming out, and I was like, man, I wish I was there. I want to do stuff like that. Renee's got all these reflection shots coming out of was it Bora Bora, or was it I know you went somewhere recently, right?
Yeah, it was a Maria.
Yeah, see, and I was like, man, I want to be, I want to try some of that again. I want to do, do what you guys do. So if as judges we feel that way, so when we expect images, we expect to be wow, not just like, yeah, that looks like a Tobias shot. No, Tobias won it already. So we need to find the next best thing. That's just my point of view. Yeah, if not, we always accept PayPal and whatever notes around the back, like Tobias said. That's just me.
True.
We got good sharing. I think a very big valid point from Imran is that you do not want to. It's the wow factor. So if any of the judges has already been out there done it, it might be something that it might not be. It might be it is something that you created. However, it's just something that it has been done before. So and just bear in mind.
If I may add something, and Tobias will go something like this. No, that's not like mine. Mine's better. So no. Thing.
Fair enough. So with that clear understanding, I believe this will give our for underwater photographer submission, the underwater photographer people who is going out there to take that winning shot. Just be mindful, get something out of the norm, be wild, but at the same time be safe.
Have fun.
Yeah, have fun. But I think it's always not easy. Some of the dive site, to be able to capture that, you have to wake up at 3 a.m. And I've done that, been there. So it's not always easy. And it's always not one shot takes all, not one day takes all, it takes a few days. So it's always not easy. That said, let's go into the second round of discussion. So we advise how to get your photo out from the masses and then being picked. 2, how much you can edit the photo and whether the judges knows that your subject has been manipulated. They know. They have been out there. They take thousands of photos. They will know by looking at it. And honestly, we have serious discussion on the ground before with the judges whether to not choose the photo that has been manipulated. I believe so, right? Yes, so many times. Not so many times, but it happens. It happens because our Voice of the Ocean is a live judging event. So and your photo can be a wow, WOW, like wow photo, but if it's not ethical, no matter how wow it is, it's not going to be chosen. And I know I always get this from underwater photographer, underwater photography organizer. How much can you manipulate or edit the final work? So can you give some insights on 2 points? Okay, editing, and then why is no to manipulate your subject. Anybody feel free to start.
No, ladies first, or can I start?
I think Imran
And again-
is quite eager. Imran, can we start?
Imran, okay, yeah. Ladies first, yeah.
Okay, ladies first. Yeah, from my point of view is that, well, it depends on the competitions that you're in. Some competitions are really looking at the creative side and whatever not. But the Voice of the Ocean looks beyond just the, the editing part. So shooting as close as you can get, or as how the eye sees it is important. But if you're really changing, blowing things out of proportion, then of course it is not, well, choose the right category for it. Yeah, everything has got a purpose for. So in this case here, when you talk about editing, for me, if you got 10%, I think that's pretty much not, I mean, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's like how a normal darkroom back in the days, how you would do it instead of pushing too much. But if your highlights are blowing crazy, it's burning out and everything else, that you can see that the images has been heavily manipulated, then you want to take a step back. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what are you trying to show that audience that you have? Are you trying to show your photography skills, or are you trying to show your photographer skills? Yeah, so that's what I always say to a lot of photographers that's attending competitions. But hey, that's just me. Let's see what Tobias and Renee has got to say.
Should I go next?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yes, please, Renee. Yes, please.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. So first off, I think that for this competition and pretty much any competition these days, that editing on some type of software like Lightroom or Photoshop is necessary for the level of other entries that you're going to be competing against. But it's definitely not a substitute for good photography. So you've got to have a great picture first, in the camera. But then beyond that, you've got to edit that photo correctly and process it, very, very well. And, what does that mean? Well, again, that's a little bit, I think, subjective, depending upon the judges. But as a general rule of thumb, I think one thing that really makes a picture stand out if it's overly edited is too much saturation. When I see photos that it's just the colors are so just deep, like that blue and the orange, and it's just got too much saturation, that's something that turns me off immediately, is not looking natural. I think that images that are too cropped, that don't give enough room. So for example, if the subject is swimming from left to right, then you need to leave some room on the side of the frame and not have it too close, because these days with, I think, Instagram, there's a lot of people that are tending to crop really closely and not really give that extra room that sometimes is needed for the composition. So no overcropping, no oversaturation. And I think that having the photo look natural in terms of the white balance, the contrast, to not have too much contrast and too much clarity, I think those things are important. So one tip that I always give people when they are editing their photos is to, when you're using those sliders, to watch what it's doing. And when you see a change that you like, just back off and go back the other way a little bit, and then leave it there and see how it looks. And then, change each thing a little bit, and don't overly do anything too much. I think Imran said, maybe you said about 10% is what you were saying for some of the editing tricks that you use. So it depends on what you're doing. But for example, if I'm doing something like clarity, I usually don't go more than 20%. So just to not overdo things, to make it look natural, but to look professional, if that makes sense.
I have a question. So I know proportion is important, but cropping the picture, it's fine as well, right? But as long as keeping it to proportion, meaning if it's 16:9, it's 16:9. If it's 4:3, it's 4:3. I can't do 3 3/4 to 3. I mean, questions. Or 3.5 to 3. 16 by 9, 4:3, and then 1:1. So if I do unproportional crops, not unproportional, but not the norm crops, will you guys pick up the photo, or you guys will be like, it's not the proportional crops? or as long as the photo is wow, although it's not a proportion. I mean, you know the standard 16:9, 4:3, 1:1. Will you guys not even look at it? Question.
I would say
I
there are
think
no
it's-
rules to.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Renee, please go on.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I think it depends on the photo. You know, some photos love to a 16:9 or a more narrow crop, and other photos, you know, more like a portrait might be like an 8:10. But go ahead, Tobias. I didn't really have much to say on that.
Yeah. Okay. I know it's up to the organizer to specifically say that you can only submit 16:9 or 1:1 or 4:3. However, there are some competition is more depends on creativity. So my question is, if there is an element of creativity and not so much of a hard and fast rules, as judges, will you guys not pick up, or do you guys prefer more proportional photo, meaning 16:19, 4:3, or 1:1, something like that?
I would say there's
when
no
I
rules or
edit
no-
my photos,
Scott, please.
Please, Scott.
yeah, when I edit my photos, I try and stay with the same aspect ratio that it was shot in. But you know, unless it's going to be I decide that it's going to be, if you're going to frame it as an art piece, right, on the wall, then that will change. But normally, if it's a photo competition, it's better to keep it at the aspect ratio that's more conventional and which in which it was shot at, right? The 16:9 is not a conventional ratio. That's a panoramic, right? Whatever the camera that they're using, they should kind of stick to that and crop within that aspect ratio. Yeah, that's what I think. And of course, as far as the editing, for me, it's like if anything needs to be edited more than a minute or 2 minutes, then I think you're just doing too much to it, or you need to start with an image that's solid already to begin with, right? Not make a solid image, right? And then just tweak it. Of course, you're always going to need Photoshop to tweak it and make it better and nicer, and still make it. And white balance is key. I mean, you got to white balance that thing properly, or else it's going to show. And that's what I look for.
Cheers. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for sharing your points. How about you, Tobias? What do you think? Editing, manipulation, and the factor of cropping. Yeah.
Yeah, and cropping, and also just want to say my bit of the aspect ratio. I would say there are no boundaries, also in general in photography, in terms of rules. So don't get yourself stressed and thinking about I have to do it in this format or in this way, so to please the judges or whatnot. Yeah, so usually breaking the rules is also resulting in a really, really good image, but you need to know when you can break the rules and when not. And this is the point where it's actually and then diverts, and then it's where it also comes important. Yeah, so usually in 99% of the chances or in the situations where you need to do a shot, it's not good to break the rules, and you go better with standard rules. I would say like shooting a little bit, maybe from below to upwards to see the surface. But in 1% of the situations, you maybe shoot upwards from upwards down to the bottom, which is usually not a nice perspective, but can give you a nice perspective. And this is also the same with aspect ratio, I would say. Yeah, it can look good, very good in a square format or in any other format, but usually I don't like it as well. Yeah, so it can look very, very good, but usually I'm also going the same what Scotty said with the 3:2 is a very, very nice format, which I usually stick to 99.99% of my images, and it can vary, it can break out of the rule, but it usually doesn't. And so yeah, by breaking the rules, what you can't do at all, and this is not in terms of editing, is but manipulating the subject before or while you're shooting. Yeah, this is absolutely not okay. And I have to say this again, by the passionate you are, and if you really want to do a shot, but pushing animals around or placing them on top of other backgrounds is absolutely not okay. Yeah, and even though if people have done it in the past, it's absolutely not okay to harm any marine environment for any shot that you're going to take. And just ask yourself, even if you think of this only, yeah, it's like, are you going to be proud of this image or not? And this is for me, of course, it's only the one answer. What can it be is that you can't be proud of a shot, but you have manipulated or did a collage afterwards in Photoshop. And you have to also have in mind that we will see this immediately. Yeah. So we are looking at images every day, and on so many images, we've participated in so many juries as well, and looking at so many images that we immediately can see if an image does not look right and if it's manipulated in terms of, this can't be that this nudie branch is sitting on this type of sponge because I've never seen it in my life. Yeah, it can happen, but it will always be, even though it was like this, if you found it like this, yeah, it could also be like another dive guide from another group before, just an hour before, put it on top of this. Yeah, so just ask yourself, is that feeling correct or not? Yeah, so if I'm always very suspicious if I see a too perfect picture also sometimes, yeah, especially like in macro in the nudibranchs, yeah. So usually you can't place a whale on top of a sponge, of course, yeah. So, but especially on the small subjects, yeah, just be careful on what you submit and what you do, because it becomes very, very easily suspicious, and this will be actually the downgrading in the judging for me, at least.
Just like in life, you don't want to have suspicions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a very good way of letting our aspiring underwater photographers know that it shouldn't be done that way. But I think this webinar takes another message of just not only to our underwater photographer, because what happened is there are people who start underwater photography. They just started. Maybe a lot of them might not be as experienced or near even experienced from where you guys are now. Okay, I'm talking about Scott, Renee, Tobias, Imran, and a lot of other underwater photographers, judges. So this message is to be sent out to all the dive guide, resorts dive guide. If you're guiding the new underwater photographers, you know that if they're new to underwater photography, or they are not there to try not to help or create the opportunity to allow them to know that, you know, by breaking off this branch and place it on another sponge is the right, I would say right thing to do, but just not do it so that they are not encouraged. I mean, the underwater photographer will not be encouraged in doing so. And of course, this message has to be, I know it's underwater voice of the ocean message, but it's good to let all the dive guide know that, you know, this is not right. And also the new underwater photographer will learn it right from the start. And when they go on and further in their underwater photography journey, they will then know that, you know, we should do the right thing.
Can I just add? Yeah. Sometimes it's not just about the guides, and it's not about, you know, the resorts or whatnot. It's about you. And another thing is also about the competition. So competitions like Voice of the Ocean gives us the power, or, you know, the ability to stop images like this from being showcased. And that's a very good start. So what we do as judges is also as important as photographers. So if we see all the panels here see something, and we can agree that, you know, this is not right, and of course cross-reference it with somebody who's scientific in this matter, who knows this a little bit more. This makes this important. We put this important message out there even further. So when they enter images like that, why do I not always get even showcased? Mine was best on the internet. Facebook has 1 million likes, but why did I not win? That's what, you know, because people expect that if I put a picture on Facebook and I get 1 million likes or 1,000 likes, I'm supposed to win something here if I put it on a competition, but you're wrong. Because the subject matters is that all of us here have got different degrees of experience and understanding how things are supposed to look like. So if you think that you've been messing around underwater and we see it clearly, this will be the competition that stops it before it gets out. So that hopefully in return will teach you subconsciously saying that, you know what, I got to stick to what is supposed to be and not supposed to be like that. So when we talk about dive guides and resorts being, the way it's supposed, we want to teach them, look, some of them are just earning a buck. They're just trying to feed a family. It's really hard to say to control that part. And there are photographers who demand stuff like that. We've seen that. I've seen that. I've heard about it. But the stoppage comes from us. If we see it, we stop it right there. And if it goes on long enough, people will understand that you can't win with competition with images like that. So I think that's just my 2 cents.
Very, very good sharing, Imran.
Yeah, well said.
Very well said.
This is also when I was in Lembe, for example, and the guides were asking me like, "Oh, what do you want to see? What's your list of things you want to see?" And I was really surprised. And it's like, I don't have a list. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not even sure. Yeah, what I want to see. So and I like this kind of factor, which is surprising me as well. Yes, I never had a list. I never said, "Oh, I want to see this one here, maybe, or that one, or this fish." I always want to be surprised also during a dive. And if I found, for example, or if there's a frogfish which is always in the same position, then you come there one day and then you maybe think about it and you look at your pictures in the evening and then the next days, and then you maybe have another idea, and then you say, can we maybe go back to the frogfish? Maybe we can find it again, and then I'm doing another idea of the same subject, and then you can constantly better your image and get better, and maybe try a different perspective, different technique, or something new, which even creates the wow factor. But I also want to add one small thing again regarding the conservation and everything. It's always a process, of course, and you were saying, Carter, that these are new underwater photographers and they are not there yet, maybe. And so, yes, it's always a process, and this is you need to learn the photography and you need to get better, but it's a long process. It can maybe take quick, it can take longer. It totally depends on the person who is behind the camera. But it's usually experience what really drives you and what really makes your pictures better. But also, you don't only need to be better in photography, but also in diving, in my eyes, especially diving in Asia with all the sand bottoms and with the sand, which is easy to be disturbed. Just keep your fins out of the sand and try not to harm the environment. I think this is really key. I can't take a wonderful picture, but I have to lie with both of my fins in the corals or stand anywhere to actually have, or with the elbows in the sand, to just have at all any balance. This can't be. You need to find your balance and your underwater buoyancy until you can make the least impact to the environment, and the best is even to make non-impact to the environment. And this is really, really key. It stands above all the images. What we are taking, what I'm taking, what the rest of the people are taking is the marine environment, what we love. And I can't understand why people at all would stand with their fins in the corals while taking a picture, because then I'm destroying what I love, and I can't be proud of this.
All right, thanks for sharing. Imran, I know you need to run. Thank you for your time here today. Please allow yourself to do whatever you need to do, but please come to ADEX. I'll see you in person.
Guys, thank you very much, and
All right, take care.
See you soon, Imran.
Cheers. Ciao.
Later.
So Scott, what's your take? Well, okay.
No, absolutely. You can, you need to present subjects that are doing natural behavior, right? I mean, and yeah, we will know. I mean, if you put a nudibranch on a crown of thorns or something just because it looks pretty, that's going to be disqualified, which you guys should be doing actually, since it's the first round anyway. So, but yeah, macro, it's so tempting for people to really do all sorts of manipulation because they're small animals. It's hard to manipulate a whale or something. But in macro especially, yeah, I see a lot of stuff out there, and it's just so many question marks. Especially, I've been diving for 40 plus years. I've seen a lot of stuff down there, and I pretty much know what's, if this could possibly happen, this could probably never happen, or this happened, this is quite, normal or natural. So yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's called voice of the ocean. So you're trying to be, you're trying to you don't want to win some kind of competition by manipulating something, right? Because the voice of the ocean is supposed to be, you're supposed to be sharing the ocean, caring for the ocean, and all that, and not really too concerned about just trying to win a competition. But absolutely, the at first and foremost should be the welfare of the animals that we're taking photos of.
Great sharing. Great sharing. Is there anything that you would like to add a little bit on? Because I think we have about 5 minutes more to go. Yes, please.
I just wanted to add a couple things because, I'm not really a macro photographer, so I don't really have experience with the small subjects and manipulation of the small subjects and all of that. But two things that I've seen quite frequently with my wide angle shooting that really bother me. The first thing is I was living in Hawaii, and there's lots of sea turtles there because they're strongly legally protected there. And I just on every single dive, I would see tourists going and touching the turtles, even though they're not supposed to. So I would make a point of going up to them and, like telling them, to not do that every time I saw it. And then another thing that I experienced more on kind of the photography side is I do a lot of shooting in Fakarava, which is in French Polynesia. And they have, they're very famous for their healthy marine environment. It's actually a UNESCO biosphere preserve. And there's the Wall of Sharks, which is a very well-known site where you have these beautiful corals. And when you go and you dive that site, they'll tell you to put, one, because it's a strong current. So they'll tell you to put one finger, on, a portion of the coral that's dead, and that's it. And every single time you go down there, you see either people in your group or in other groups with two hands, just, grabbing these beautiful hard corals and just, constantly, walking like, with their hands over the corals. They've got their fins in the corals. And then on top of that, they tell you not to disturb the sharks and not swim into that wall of sharks, because then the sharks actually break up and they move away. And on this last trip that I was just there a couple of weeks ago, we had this group that every time would do that and wouldn't listen. So I think it's really important when whether you're an experienced photographer or a new photographer, and you're out there and you're meeting people and you're diving with them, to make sure that people understand, why you don't do these things. Because I think a lot of it is education and people just don't know. I think most people aren't trying to, manipulate the environment to get a shot. I think a lot of times people just don't know that if you grab the coral like that, it can kill the coral, or if you touch, a turtle, it can damage that protective layer on their shell. Like, people just don't know these things. So I always try to educate people as much as possible and give them the benefit of the doubt that it's something that they just don't really know about. And I think that can help with protecting the ocean as well.
Sure. Thanks, Renee. Good, very good sharing. I think our panels of speakers have shared more than enough information with all the audience today, and especially those who are keen to take part in the Voice of the Ocean, which is the underwater photography competition organized by Asia Dive Expo. And not only Voice of the Ocean, I mean, throughout your journey in competition, other underwater photo competition, I believe you should hold the same standard and be ethical and be mindful, and also try to make the most wow picture. So basically, if there is nothing more, is there anyone last add on before we round it?
I'd just like to say that a lot of times on these competitions, people say, "Oh, I don't want to join because I'm just new or whatever, or I don't have any good." I just encourage everybody just to join and just give it a shot, because you never know. You never know what you have. And and the judges will always be surprised. So I just like to encourage everybody to just submit. And
Did we miss Scott? Yeah, sorry, Scott, the last two sentences, please repeat.
Oh, I just want to encourage everybody just to join and be surprised, right? I mean, you never know, how the judges will take to your photos, right?
Yeah.
Starting to get I think my internet's starting to go.
I got a hint. You can skip the PayPal, but you can always get them a beer.
Yeah.
This always helps.
Okay.
But it's also just one last point, if I can as well. If in case you don't win, or if you don't see your images in the final rounds or whatever, you shouldn't be disappointed by this, but you should be encouraged and challenged to actually do better again. Yeah, and this was also when I was starting in the competitions. Also, my thing is like when I didn't finalize, or like when I didn't see my pictures winning or whatever. Yeah, I was challenged. Yeah, and to do better and to get better pictures out and to think about more creative ways on doing other images. Yeah, so you should be encouraged to do better images and not be disappointed if you don't win.
Got it. I got it.
Yep.
Thanks for all your time today. So Renee, you have something to add on?
No, I was just saying that I appreciated what Tobias said, for people to enter the contest, and there's so many good images out there. And in the end, it's really becomes difficult to pick the top 10 or the top 5. And there's so many great images. So definitely don't be discouraged and keep entering. And, another contest may pick a picture that one other contest doesn't choose. You never know. So.
Exactly. It's all down to the judge's opinion.
That's
and
good.
Their state of mind at the current judging time.
Thank you all the judges and the panelists for those who is tuning in now and would like to catch them in person 16 to 18 of September, ADEX Singapore at Marina Bay Sands Expo. You'll get to see them in person. So and they are you can talk to them in person, get some hints from them in person. Okay, physically, face to face. So do come, and thank you for all the speakers' time today. It's very insightful. I think those who are doing or trying to get their pictures done from now to the submission deadline, please bear in mind and have that sharing from our panelists today, our judges panelists today, of what they have shared, and then keep that in mind and hold it closely to you. All right, that's all. Voice of the Ocean, 16 to 18 September 2022. This coming 2 months more. Get your wow picture. Submit to Voice of the Ocean. Let me get the it's adex.asia VOO, adex.asia VOO, and then do a search. There's a website link. We look forward to your amazing photos. I believe the judges and panelists here are looking forward to your amazing photos as well. Thank you once again for your time. And I think that's the end of this session. I will see each and every one of you, Scott, Renee, Tobias at ADEX itself physically. A big hug
you guys,
together with it.
Guys there. Thanks, Carter, for hosting this. Good job.
Thank you. Thanks, Sophia, as well.
Thank you very much, for all your effort.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you all in person.
See you. Can't wait to see you in Singapore.
Cheers, guys.
Me too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you're not banned from there.